Alrighty, folks, what is up? My name is Melvin and welcome. Glad to see you here. Glad to see you doing amazingly well. It's been a while since I've been online, just doing anything. Coming up with ideas, prepping, just absolutely doing anything. I've just kind of let time pass me by in this scenario. But, with me, with trying to be creative, finding a creative outlet that I enjoy, which is YouTube, and then just not doing it for a while. I think it has messed with me a little bit, messes with my head. Like, I spend all this time learning these skills and, you know, trying to put them to good use, and then just like having it not go anywhere. Yeah, it does kind of suck. There was a reason for that. Just personal life came in the way, and then just kind of when like personal life got handled, I started noticing that like I was neglecting other things. I was neglecting kind of my mental health responsibilities, and you can neglect them when you're in a good position, but then when you neglect them when you're in a bad position, that can cause a nightmare. Because especially for me, when I don't have a lot of support, outside of myself, you gotta make sure that you are taken care of first and foremost when you are more independent, when less people can put you in check. So that's kind of what happened. I guess maybe this past month. I don't know. It's a blur. I don't really write things down. Now I'm starting to get back into it and starting to think of more visions and ideas for how to move this channel forward in a way that I'm happy with. And we'll see what that is. But I thought first, why don't we talk about the name of the channel? I think I've talked about it a few times, but during this time of trying to get back into mental health and meditation and things like that, I re-looked at the name of my channel, and you might think to yourself, what's so like, I think I get what you're trying to say here. You might be either literal in saying that you don't have friends, or you're just trying to make a corny joke. And yeah, it's the corny joke part. Like when I made that channel, I had friends. I'll continue to have friends, hopefully. Maybe it'll change, maybe it won't. But I guess let's talk about the headspace of me and just kind of that title. Because ever since growing up as a kid, I always struggled, and I don't know if I'm still struggling to this day of having friends, but I definitely struggle with kind of my own vision of myself, who I am, and that can cause me to think that I am a lonely person. So ever since I was a kid, I've always was a friendly person to other people. I've always wanted people to find me endearing or interesting or in any way, shape, or form. That's what got me to talk as a kid, was that I wanted to interact. And the thing was, I would always say something that maybe didn't, or not maybe, definitely didn't, you know, maybe I shouldn't have said it. Maybe I made a joke that was too vulgar or too weird, or maybe I was just obnoxious. So there were definitely growing up. I think I only had one friend, and then we fought on like a regular basis, like throwing dukes and stuff. Like we argued and fought, and probably a good chunk of it was my doing. And yeah, so I didn't know how to make friends growing up. It wasn't until like middle school where I was kind of at my lowest, in terms of my school environment, where I thought to myself, okay, let's try to actually like try make an effort to like making friends and just like figuring out those things, because it was just like the advice I was given by like teachers and parents, it just wasn't sticking well. Like, and that's with any sort of advice that people give me. It's hard for that to stick right away. It takes time and development. It's like a good steak, I guess, or good wine. It's got to be aged a little bit. So it's just like that kind of advice took a while for it to like sink in. But then after a while, I did eventually get into the groove. And yeah, in high school, I think I had a great time. And then college, I had an even better time. I made even more friends that I had a stronger connection with. So I was really happy about that. But no matter how many friends I have, no matter how many people like me or can tolerate me, there's always something in the back of my head that's always gnawing at me, and it's one of my greatest fears. And I just realized that not too long ago. Either I realized it or it's just this truth that I kept silent, and now I'm like finally able to put it into words. So the fear is that it's either in my could me either something of my doing or something that wasn't my doing. Everyone's view of me just suddenly turns sour. I'm irredeemable in some way, and I can't do anything to change that back. Whatever good graces I had is over, and I don't do nice things or be nice to people because of that fear. I think it's good to, I don't know, it's just good to be a nice person, I think. It's good to be friendly towards other people. It's good to interact, talk, like all those things. I enjoy doing those things. I enjoy being an active person. But yeah, it always sometimes feels like a double-edged sword when I try to go out, I try to spend time with people, or I try to I just try to make one joke that maybe doesn't work, and then it doesn't work, and then it just kind of gnaws at me. My brain sometimes has this issue where it's just like it's thinking of things that I don't want it to think, but I think that's just like anxiety taking over. That's like, oh, you have to think about it. You have to find a solution towards it. And it's just one of those things where there is no solution. It's just you just got to live with how the situation is and try to move on from there. So that's kind of always been in my psyche, and you try to learn and you try to figure out from there. And that's all I can do. It messes with me, man. I got a lot of things that mess with me, and I think something about creating content and video making that kind of helped me with that, and why stopping and starting again is such a struggle for me was that, yeah, like the more I made content, the more I ignored the outside world, and I was allowed to see what was inside my mind and turn it into something, even if it wasn't like an amazing even if it wasn't like an amazing work of art. The fact that I got to share it is wonderful. I used to think more that the content I made had no value, but it did have value. It created confidence for me. It created these stories about me in a way that I feel like works best. I'm trying to be a better writer, but I don't write a whole lot. I would love to create songs and stories, but I haven't spent the time doing that. This is something that I can kind of figure out pretty well, and just kind of stopping, taking a break. While that was great and all, it's I think it took something away from me. It took a drive and energy that I'm trying to find again. It's kind of foreign to me now, but we'll see what happens. That's part of life, part of growing up. It's so easy to lose things that you care about without even realizing it. Life is this really weird and strange, like, something I was learning Something that I was thinking about in the shower, actually, funny enough, it was like either you're going to be in a position where the world either makes 100% sense to you, or the world is just going to make zero sense to you. And what I mean by that is that you're just going to be in a position where you just happen to do everything right. Yeah, it was out, like you didn't have to even think that hard, but everything is just going absolutely well for you. And then you're going to be in a position where you try to do that exact same thing, and then it just seems like nothing went right for you. Like everything went wrong. You know, you have your good days and you have your bad days. You don't really have a blueprint for everything, but it's just how the story goes. So, thank you folks for listening to that. We'll see how things move on in the future. I got ideas. I just got to figure out how to implement them. So, anyways, thank you so much for listening, folks. You have yourself a good one.